What's going on, everybody? This is Island Hopper TV, and today we're going to talk about some hidden gem travel destinations around the world. If, if you're someone who loves travel and you want to get out there and travel, this video is for you. I'm going to talk about some of my personal favorites that I went to here recently, which I felt were undiscovered. Now, I know before I get into this, some of you guys are going to be like, well, if they're hidden gems, why are you telling people about this? And the reason I'm doing this is because we only get around like under 5,000 views on these live streams. So it's really just me giving back to the community. Whereas some of these other videos, I know they get 100,000 or a million views on some of the things to do videos. That's why I'm doing this. I'm doing this for the community. Okay. And this is just my insight. I mean, you guys can chime in the comments, smash up the likes, and let me know some of your hidden gems. But yeah, it's going to be a fun one. So stick around. By the way, if you guys want to read my book, Diary of a Three-Star Gypsy, in the comments. Also, I am now doing travel consultation one-on-one. I've already done a few calls with people. They went really good. Everyone seemed like they were getting some useful information out of those travel one-on-one consultations that I was providing, whether it be the Europe or Asia or the Caribbean. I've got information on all that, been to over 90 countries. Okay, so let's get into it. Now we're going to talk about some of my favorite hidden gem destinations that I've went to here recently. So the one that really stands out to me recently that's a hidden gem, and like I said, this is for the community. I don't want this place to blow up. I don't want it to get popular. But in Thailand, believe it or not, there are some hidden places. And I'm just going to tell you about these islands. They call them the Maldives of Thailand. It's in far south Thailand, past Koh Lanta. There's like 4 or 5 different islands out there that are, well, there's more than that. There's actually like 400 islands in there, but there's 4 or 5 that you can go to, and they're only open like 6 months out of the year. So it's in between Koh Lanta and Koh Lipe. So you've got Langkawi and Koh Lipe. Those are famous. You've got Koh Lanta. That's becoming more famous. But in between, there's some islands like Koh Nai, Koh Mak, the other ones, Koh Kradan. Those right there, really cool, laid back, and it's the Maldives of Thailand. Like walking way out into the water, waist deep, crystal clear blue water. I would say that's a hidden gem in Thailand. I know I say this because a lot of you guys are going to probably be going to Thailand, considering it's the most visited country in the world right now. I know that people say it's like France or Spain, but that's because it's a lot of people coming to you who are just crossing the border like it's a state. People are literally coming to Thailand in mass amounts of numbers. They say tourism's down, probably because of the tariffs. But as you know, Thailand's on everyone's high bucket list. So I'm just giving you that right off the top, just because I know a lot of you are trying to come to Thailand, and that's going to be where I would recommend. Another one that I do like that's islands like that is Philippines. Now, everyone seems to go to Boracay. You can pass Boracay. You know, Coron and El Nido, they're famous and they're becoming famous, but there are some hidden gems around like Busuwanga and stuff. The further you get away from Coron town, the better it gets. But there's islands like, I mean, there's so many dang islands that are beautiful. Even Mindanao is like literally littered with so many beautiful just places on Mindanao. But one area that really stood out is nearby Surigao. Everyone goes to Surigao, the northern island, not Surigao del Sur, but Surigao. That's the famous one. That one's it's blown up, it's popular. But if you just go a couple islands over, there's this island chain called the Dinigat Islands. You guys got to check out the Dinigat. Even look it up online, Dinagat, Dinigat Islands. Who do you know who's talking about Dinigat? See, that's what I'm saying. And it's kind of just off the coast of Leyte. So Leyte, not too many beaches, but when you go down into Dinigat, just check those islands in between Surigao, just north of Mindanao. Man, those islands are beautiful. Now we're going to move a little bit down into Indonesia. So the interesting thing is, like, yeah, Philippines and Indonesia and Malaysia, that, you know, Borneo, they're all separated by countries. So you don't really think they're just like one big archipelago. But if you really look at it and just look at it on Google Maps and you remove the boundaries and the crossing the borders, it's one big archipelago of a lot of islands. Like Indonesia has about 11,000 islands. Philippines has about 7,500 islands. And then if you include what Malaysia's got around Borneo, I mean, there's a lot of islands right there. And so now Indonesia is loaded with hidden gems. Indonesia is absolutely loaded. The thing is, it's not the infrastructure. It's like the Philippines. There's not a lot of infrastructure to get out to these places. But even if you look just past Sumatra, not all the way down towards Christmas Island, but if you go out towards Sumatra and you look west, okay, like kind of west towards like no man's land. I mean, it's not west because Sumatra kind of angles, but there's like a bunch of islands just off Sumatra on the west, southwest side facing towards Christmas Island. Like there's literally nothing out there. Australia is a little bit tucked away down south, but man, there is tons of beautiful islands just off the coast of Sumatra. That doesn't even include what we're talking about when we go over to like Papua, West Papua. They say that's like the last Eden. They got Raja Ampat. It's really hard to get to Raja Ampat, but Raja Ampat is the last Eden. If you guys look at underwater worlds, you're probably not going to see another place that's got as much wildlife under the water as Raja Ampat. It has not become commercialized. I mean, this place is literally amazing. You can even do like Komodo while you're out there, Labuan Bajo, while you're over there. Also, if you go up towards like Sulawesi, they've got tons of like beaches and just crazy like exotic lifestyle for those of you who are adventure travelers. Just keep in mind, this is more of an adventure travelers. These are people, this is not for the average like cruise ship, like vacation tourist. I always say there's like different types of tourists, right? But the big two is there's travelers, which I am, and then there's vacationers. Nothing wrong with either of them, and I'm not picking a side. I'm just saying I personally am a traveler, so I'm not always on permanent vacation. Everyone thinks I'm on permanent vacation because I'm traveling so much, but really what it is I'm just traveling because I like traveling. I like to mix it up. I like to go in between places. So, that's why I have a travel channel, is because like, for a long time, I was just like, I needed more money to travel. You guys know what I'm talking about, right? Thanks to everyone who's smashing up the like. Someone says, I'm going to a Greek island this summer, second year in a row going to Greece. Yeah, Greece has a way of just captivating people because of those beautiful islands, right? You've got the Cyclades, you've got the islands in the Ionian Sea, it's just so many islands out there. I mean, my favorite Greek island, I don't know what your favorite Greek island, but mine would probably be Eos, just because it's laid back. I feel like, all you need is a motorbike or just like a rental car and you could go all around Eos, and it's laid back. It's beautiful too. But there's so many beautiful Greek islands. You can't really just pick one. I mean, you could even say Santorini, but Santorini is too much of a tourist place nowadays. Same with Mykonos. Like trying to drive around on Mykonos is just ridiculous. The roads are too tight and, but it's a tourist place. But what you're looking for is like Mykonos, what Mykonos would have been like 20 to 30 years ago before it got built up. Even Paros and Naxos are getting built up. Roads, all these islands are becoming too famous. Anyway, so back to Asia. So we're still talking about Asia, but yeah, even if you go up towards like Borneo, now Borneo is a great place for wildlife. Remember, there's only 2 islands in the world where they have orangutans. Orangutans are an interesting ape. I mean, I find that ape to be a very interesting character. I'll go to zoos. I think apes are probably the most interesting animals in a zoo, or at least one of them. I mean, I've sat there and looked at and watched the behavior of giraffes. Those are pretty interesting, as well as like camels, but apes. I don't know what your guys' favorite animals are, but between camels, like Asian camels, not the African or the Middle Eastern camel. I'm talking about like the Mongolian camel, the double humpback. That is an interesting animal. And then you've got giraffes. If you get like a real big giraffe, like one that's just like an adult male or even an adult female, it is crazy to watch those giraffes. Like I see probably the best place for animal watching like that would be Singapore Zoo. Singapore Zoo is really amazing. They say the best zoo in the world, San Diego Zoo. So if you haven't been to San Diego Zoo, they've got a pretty good exhibit. I think they gave back to China the pandas, but anyway. But yeah, I mean, orangutans, those are such an interesting animal. So Sumatra and Borneo is like one of the best places to do wildlife watching. It's one of the biggest islands in the world. Everyone always says, oh, Australia is the biggest island. Well, yeah, I mean, you could say Greenland or Australia, but I don't know if they consider Australia to be a island necessarily. So Borneo, top 5 biggest islands in the world, if you're talking about like real islands, but it's split up between 3 countries, but 2 countries mostly. South is Indonesia, that's Kalimantan, not too many beaches, but in the north you have Malaysia, and on the east side they have an area called Sabah. Very beautiful place. It kind of connects to the Sulu Sea where Philippines is. It's a bit dangerous though. They've got like some Abu Sayyaf stuff. I don't know. They say they're fixing it, but yeah, that whole area. I mean, one day I would like to believe that I'll be able to go from Sabah on a ferry up to Mindanao and see all those islands in between because they're absolutely beautiful. But the islands to the south of Palawan nearby there is called Ballback. Oh man, talk about wow. That is just a beautiful place, by the way. The southern part of Palawan. Everyone goes to the north. They go to El Nido or they go to Coron. But southern Palawan has like these dreamy, idyllic, like kind of like a Maldives of Philippines on the south part of Palawan. It's a bit safer than the Sulu Sea. You guys know what I'm talking about. I know some of you guys are really coached up on travel. Someone says, what about Cambodia? Cambodia is cool, I guess. I mean, I haven't really spent too much time in Cambodia. I've only went to Siam Reap and Phnom Penh. And I still need to get out there and do some more exploring and give Cambodia more of a chance. But I mean, Angkor Wat is obviously amazing, but is that hidden gem? No, it's neither Siam Reap. And Koh Rong, the island, or Sihanoukville or Sihanoukville or whatever it's called. It's like turned into like a Chinese tourist casino. I wouldn't say any of that's really hidden gems. Laos, I would say Laos is still kind of a hidden gem. There's a lot to see in Laos, but when you go to Laos, even though they speak a similar dialect to Thai, they're just the way they approach tourism is totally different than Thai, by the way. So don't expect the same kind of treatment. I mean, they don't really, you almost get the impression in Laos, they don't care if they get tourists or not. I mean, they'll do the job and like, do the tour, but it's not like Thailand where they're like, hey, even though they say Sawadi, you think you're in Thailand kind of in a way because the language is very similar. It's Sabadi, not Sawadi. It's more of a B than a Zwi. But anyway, Laos, I would say, is a hidden gem. Since you're talking about Cambodia, I would take Laos or northern Vietnam over Cambodia. That's just in terms of like being a hidden gem destination. Now, if we're going to talk about since we were talking about Australia, I want to touch on an area of Australia that is really amazing and it's uninhabited for the most part. Now, I've always wanted to take a car around the entire of Australia. I mean, that would include starting in starting in Melbourne, going up, Sydney, Newcastle, all the way up to Byron Bay and Gold Coast, around to Cairns and Darwin, and then back over and to Exmouth, and then down into Perth, that whole area, Margaret's River, and then come back down through Adelaide and the Ocean Road, all that, right? Well, there's one area of Australia that is like super hidden gem. Okay, I would say it probably starts in the Kimberley area of Western Australia. The whole state, the whole province, whatever you want to call it, of Western Australia is obviously most of it is desolate. It's like uninhabited desert. I mean, it's just desert for miles, right? Like even when the Dutch arrived, I don't know if you guys know it, but it used to be called New Holland. Australia used to be called New Holland before Captain Cook took it for the British. And when the Dutch arrived, I remember actually reading this in a museum at the prison museum in Perth, because it was an old penal colony for the British. They would send prisoners down to Australia. Some of you guys already know that, I know. But I'm just saying, I went to one of the museums in Perth, and they were talking about how the Dutch had come down here before the British, and they looked at Australia and they were just like, no, we don't want anything to do with this godforsaken place. It's barren and empty. But, obviously there's lots of beaches in Perth. It's really nice out there on the southwestern edge of Australia, but the north is just desert. But now, oh my gosh, I mean, now that we've got AC and we've got automobiles and stuff, I mean, that whole area is just teeming with wildlife. I mean, in the water. Like, you guys ever watch that one dude? I think his name's Brody. BDS. He's got like this YouTube channel. He goes out there on the ocean and he'll swim with like tiger sharks, or he'll swim with like, I mean, he'll go out there on his see-through kayak. You guys know that guy I'm talking about? And he makes cool content. Like he'll go out there and like forage for like crabs or anything he can find out there. But he's doing all that in that western part of Australia, kind of southwest of Kimberley. But there was a place over there called Exmouth. I mean, literally, I would not swim in that water because the size of the sharks out there, the tigers, I think they got great whites. Between those two alone and saltwater crocs, I mean, you guys think that it's dangerous out there on Eastern Australia. Wait till you see what's out there in Western Australia. That place is literally nuts. Someone said, I love Australia. Sydney is second home to me. You're not wrong about Western Australia on the Northern Territory. Outback Truckers is one of my favorite shows. Dude, that is like the last frontier. I mean, you know, Perth is considered one of the most isolated big cities in the world, right? So, you know, they say Hawaii is also like Honolulu because it's so far away from any large landmass. But Perth is closer to Jakarta than it is to Sydney, just to put things into perspective, my friends. Someone said, JB says, hey, Jeff, tell us what you know. Yeah, I'm unloading on this one. This one, I'm giving the goods. But yeah, so Western Australia, crazy cool. Got to check that place out. I mean, Margaret's River is beautiful to the south if you love. And then if you go a little bit further south from there, they've got Esperance. Esperance has like this crystal clear blue transparent water. Again, they get like the whales will come like right into that bay in Esperance. You guys know that dude, Jaden Hudson or whatever? He flies drones and he'll catch like surfing dolphins or whales right there. You know, it's a really cool, but they've also got the white shark. They call it the white pointer down in the south. Another place nearby Australia that's, I'm not going to say it's uncharted, but it is a bit of a hidden gem because I don't think a lot of people really know about this place. I'm going to say the South Island of New Zealand. That place is crazy. A lot of people go there, so it's not necessarily a hidden gem, but it's a hidden gem to a lot of people. You know, they got Queenstown. I even went as far south. What was that town that I went to? Dunedin. That's right. I went to Dunedin. They got a place like that in Scotland called Dunedin, but I went to Dunedin in New Zealand. I'm not going to sit here and say it's that amazing, but it was weird because I was in the southern hemisphere and it's so cold down there on the South Island. It's like Tasmania at the same like latitude, longitude, whatever it is. But they got Fordland National Park, Fiordlands. So great place down there on the South Island. Crazy cool place, the whole South Island. If you can get down there, they've got Christchurch. And if you go out to like the west coast of New Zealand, I mean, that's where it's real rugged and just crazy. I mean, right now it's cold as heck down in the southern hemisphere. Like Australia and like Melbourne right now is freaking cold. Like same with South Island right now. So you'd want to go probably in the summertime when it's not so cold. And their summertime only lasts for like 4 months, and then it's just like weird winds and all that. But crazy cool. Another place that's kind of nearby there that you might want to check out that's like an island chain. Everyone thinks about Polynesia, like French Polynesia. They always want to go to Bora Bora or Tahiti, but don't sleep on Cook Islands. That's where a lot of like New Zealanders go. Like if you ever talk to like a Kiwi or you talk to an Aussie, they'll tell you like Cook Islands is where they like to go. Sometimes they go to Fiji as well. But Cook Islands, they're nearby French Polynesia, but they're a whole different little archipelago. So definitely consider the Cook Islands. They've got beautiful beaches. They've got like translucent blue water. You should really consider that. Now, we're going to head out of Oceania and Asia, and we're going to head over towards what I consider to be the Middle East. Now, one area that I would say is a hidden gem, and this area is underrated. Now, people sleep on China. China is a really amazing place. Obviously, there's some political uncertainty, so it makes it hard to get over there. But there's an area of China that I don't think people really fully want to go to, but they should probably consider. Now, Mongolia. Okay, you guys know that Genghis Khan, Ubla Khan, they were like the biggest empire ever on planet Earth. They were called the Mongols, right? You guys have heard of the Mongols. They were bigger than the Romans, bigger than Russia. I mean, Russia is like a bit the biggest country in the world right now, but the Mongolians, they were like, they had a good chunk of like China. One of the main reasons why they built the China Wall, right? but also they were all the way out to, I think they got stopped in like Astana, Turkey. So they made it all the way to like Ankara or Astana, and then they got stopped. So everything in between there and a little bit south, they were in India and all that. But Mongolia today, modern day Mongolia, very sparsely populated. They have a big city called Ulaanbaatar. Very interesting place. Actually, if you go a little bit further north of there, I think that's Lake Baikal, isn't it? In Russia. But I'm not saying go to Russia right now, but the area around Mongolia, if you go just across the border, Inner Mongolia, I have a friend, she's from Inner Mongolia. She was showing me pictures of Inner Mongolia, like the skies are blue, like just green rolling hills. And like, it's like heavenly. I was like, that looks as close to heavenly as I've ever seen. It's not tropical or anything. It's literally just like the contrast of just like blue skies and just green rolling hills in Mongolia and Inner Mongolia in China. Very beautiful. But if we go a little bit further to the west, you're going to have places like Uzbekistan and Kazakhstan. Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan are high on my list to get out there, but these are some hidden gem places. If you wanted to stop at another place in between there, would be Bhutan. Bhutan is a little bit difficult to get to because you have to get like a special traveler's permit, and it costs like $150 a day. You have to pay like a tour guide. It's kind of like going to North Korea, but nowhere near as complicated. But I'm just saying, it's like they got all these rules to going to Bhutan. But Bhutan is, I would say that one's, they invest in Bitcoin and all this stuff. So yeah, it's crazy. Someone said, I'd love a set up a consultation with you. Yeah, go ahead and fill out the form. It's pinned to the top. You can also check the links. But yeah, I've done a couple consultations. I try to do the best job that I can. I mean, honestly, it says that it's like a 20 to 30 minute phone call, but what I actually end up trying to do is just be like, look, however long it's going to take for you to feel satisfied with this service. And I talk about travel a lot. Sometimes I feel like I'm maybe like talking about it too much. They might be like, well, he's really excited about travel. But that's the cool thing. I'm excited about travel. I know how exciting travel is. So I do get excited about it, and I love helping people to plan their trips. I actually got the idea from my buddy from high school. Every time he goes places, like he went to Costa Rica, he went to El Salvador, he went to all these places like the Big Island, and he's like, dude, he like keeps coming back. He's like, you're my go-to for all travel. I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I do have a travel channel, but he knows that like the information that I have for him, I'm sure he'd give me a 5-star review on any sort of like app if you could rate it. And that's just, I'm being humble. I'm not trying to be cocky or anything. I'm just saying, I know I've traveled a lot of times in a lot of places for a long time. So the information that I have is pretty valuable, I would say. Anyway, someone says, I know it's a tourist attraction, but Uluru is one of those places in the world that you go and immediately think, wow, there's definitely something spiritual here. So Uluru, formerly known as Ayers Rock, for those of you who are wondering what Uluru is, that's in the Australian outback. It's one of the biggest rock monoliths in the world. I think it's not the biggest rock monolith in the world anymore. I remember when I was a kid, Ayers Rock, also known as Uluru, was the biggest rock in the world, right? Well, I don't know what's the biggest one now. Anyway, book a consultation. Links in the description. So now what we're going to do is, like I said, Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, very good places to check out. You get lots of good reviews around like Georgia these days, because Georgia, especially Tbilisi, not too expensive. Now it's interesting over there because they have this big sea. It's called the Black Sea, but it's not actually sea, or I'm sorry, the Caspian Sea. If you look on a map, you'll see the Caspian Sea. They've got a big city out there on the Caspian Sea in Azerbaijan. Azerbaijan's got some mountains, and they say the food is really good out there in Azerbaijan. Very cheap. I mean, you're around Armenia. But the interesting thing, and some of you guys are going to find this interesting, there's a mountain range right there. It's called the Caucasus. And the reason that someone's called a Caucasian is because of those mountains. They're called the Caucasus Mountains. And here, I'm going to take it one step further. Now, everything to the east of the Caucasus is called the Middle East. All the way to the end of that landmass is called the Far East. That's why they call everything to the west the Western world. So when they're referring to the West, when they say the West is blah, blah, blah. The West is that, the West, the Western world. They're talking about everything west of the Caucasus Mountains, okay? And people who are west of the Caucasus are known as Caucasians. But that mountain range right there basically connects from the Caspian Sea all the way to the Black Sea. That whole area right there is like Georgia, okay? But that area is an interesting place. Like I said, it's not very expensive. I would say it's a hidden gem as of right now, and it's above Turkey. So you've got Armenia, Azerbaijan, and then you've got Georgia. That's a trip all in of itself. If you're looking for like a cheap kind of like cultural area, it's again, this, I wouldn't say it's Middle East. It's kind of like where East meets West, right? They say East meets West in Istanbul. Now, I would say Istanbul is a great city to go to, but I can't call it a hidden gem because I think it's one of the most visited cities in the world right now. But if you've never been to Istanbul, they have two different areas. They have Anatolia, which is considered where Asia starts. And then on the other side of the Bosphorus Straits, the Bosphorus is the area that connects the Mediterranean and like I guess you could say the Mediterranean, or well, like the, you know, where Greece is, with the Black Sea. Now, you guys know in that area, that's where Russia has taken the land called Crimea from Ukraine because they want access to the Black Sea, right? They don't want Ukraine to have that big chunk of water that gives them access to the Black Sea and then everything north of that. So that area known as Crimea used to belong to Ukraine. Now it belongs to Russia. But Istanbul, after that Black Sea, is Turkey. They always said, well, if Russia gets too greedy, maybe they'll try to take Istanbul. But Turkey's not too worried about it, apparently, although Russia's a huge bear, the Russian bear, right? But Istanbul has the Bosphorus Straits. The interesting thing about Istanbul, Napoleon Bonaparte once said that if there was ever a city that should be the capital of the world, not the capital of Turkey, not the capital of blah, 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 Napoleon said the capital of the world would be Istanbul. It's had many different names. It was once called Constantinople under the Byzantine Empire when Emperor Constantine was there. So Constantinople, Emperor Constantine, but it fell to the Ottoman Turks around like the 15 or 1600s. I know some of you history buffs are going to correct me. I'm just saying, I'm going off cuff right now, but the Ottoman Turks took it, and then it became Islamic. Before, it was part of the Byzantine Empire under the Roman Emperor Constantine is when it was founded. Some people call it Constantinople. I call it Constantinople, but you guys get the idea. And Istanbul is a crazy cool place. Actually, when I was in Sweden or Norway, I can't remember, I was at one of the Viking museums. Was it Norway or Sweden? I think it was Sweden. So, you know, when you're in Scandinavia, you can go to the Viking museums, right? Because like the Vikings are basically from like Iceland, Norway, Sweden, and Denmark. But you could also say five, which would be Finland, although some people don't call Finland part of Scandinavia. But anyway, in that Sweden museum, they said that Vikings, back before the Vikings became so powerful, the Vikings' early days were down in Istanbul, Constantinople. So they were Viking traders were going as far as Turkey, way back in the day. So I mean, I found that to be really interesting. Jimmy's World, hello from Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. What's going on, Jimmy? Michael says Ukraine was on my bucket list until Russia went sideways. Yeah, I went to Ukraine one time, into Kiev. And I was just, to me, it looked like Russia. Everyone seemed, you know, they're Slavic, right? You know, you have Slavs. There's the Slavic people. And so you have like the Slavic people in like Yugoslavia, which is like, you know, Jokic and Luka Doncic. Those are like Slavic people. They're called, that's former Yugoslavia. That's why it's got the word Slav in it, right? Slavic. But the Slavic people, I mean, they're you know, they're in like Yugoslavia, and then you come on over and you got Slavs in the area around like Ukraine. Obviously, they're Slavic people, Russian Slavic people. So I mean, it's basically like, you know, they're all kind of like the same ethnic group, right? But there's a big war about how they draw the boundaries, and Russia's gone through a lot of history. I mean, there's a lot of history in Russia. Everything from Stalin to who was it? Rasmussen. You guys know Rasmussen, and then they had Mikhail Gorbachev, and then Boris Yeltsin, and then they had what's his name, Dmitry Medvedev, and then they had Vladimir Putin. I mean, they've all come under different ideologies, but Putin's the one who's kind of like stabilized the whole political philosophy for a long period of time. By the way, Putin's like, I think he's only 5'8" or 5'10". He's a kind of a short guy, but he's very powerful. I mean, that guy, what is it? He talks softly and carries a big stick. I think Teddy Roosevelt would have liked him, huh? Anyway, I'm not picking a side. I'm just saying I'm a history guy. I like to see what's going on. I call balls and strikes when I see it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think Putin, he's a strong leader. I mean, there's no denying that. Even Xi Jinping, I think, of China, he's a very strong leader. Like she and Putin's getting old though. I mean, he's still in great shape. I mean, I think he's coming into his 70s. I think Xi Jinping is also coming into his 70s. In the 70s, sometimes the wheels kind of start falling off the wagon. If your name is Joe Biden, it definitely happened around like late 70s. But Trump, he's just, he's got some issues as well right now, health issues. But was Xi and Putin getting older in the 70s? I don't know. But if you look at like a guy like Dr. Fauci, he's like what? In his 80s, he still seems like he's going pretty strong. Like that guy's got mental. I'm not talking about politics or anything. I'm just saying, like, for a guy of his age, I think he's like 84 or something. He's still got his wits about him. I mean, it just depends, right? But anyway, yeah, Ukraine is quite interesting. I did go there, but it was in the winter time, so I don't know. But actually, if you guys like, this is more Slavic, but we're going north a bit. Former kind of like Soviet Union places, Estonia. That's an underrated place. I went to Lithuania and I went to Latvia, but I actually liked Estonia. And the cool thing is, I mean, Estonia, Tallinn is like so close to St. Petersburg. A lot of people I talk to, seriously, in that area, they all love Moscow and they love St. Petersburg. Finns, Estonians, Lithuanians, Latvians. I didn't say they like the politics side of Russia. I'm saying that they love those cities. And a lot of people I talk to, they just love Moscow and they love St. Petersburg. I look forward to going there. Right now is not a good time, I don't think, but we'll see what ends up happening. Things can change pretty quickly in one way or the other. Someone said, what about Somalia? I heard is a true hidden gem. Okay. All right. Well, yeah, if piracy is what you're studying, I mean, obviously, like in the U.S., there's a lot of Somalians. Like I've talked to a lot of Somalians, especially when I get like a taxi in Atlanta or a taxi in Philly or even in Los Angeles. I'm always talking to Somalian. Seemed like I always would get a Somalian driver. Always very friendly people, very polite, very nice. I always got along with Somalians, but I would always ask them, "How's Somalia?" Because I'm a traveler. I'd be like, "What do you think? Should I go to Somalia or should I not go?" Yeah, no, I don't recommend you go to Somalia. They always say, they're like, "Well, how do you feel about Kenya?" They always go, "I don't recommend Somalia, but if you want, you can go to Kenya." That's what they always do. So like, and I mean, they'll even like, even when they like, I remember there's one guy in Atlanta, he was from Somalia, and he was a real nice guy. He dropped me off at the airport and he stood there and talked to me outside after he dropped me off, pulled the suitcase out, and we were kind of going back and forth about where's the best place to go in Africa. And he was like, Kenya. He's like, Kenya's good. Kenya's good. Well, right now there's protests in Kenya, but from what I hear, Kenya is actually really good. Someone said, appreciating this today, got to bounce, but I'll check out the replay for sure. Thank you, Gabriella. Someone said, watch the old video of Putin standing on next to Gordon Ramsay. It's like Schwarzenegger next to Danny DeVito. Yeah, dude. You know who else was short that surprised me? Joe Rogan. I like Joe Rogan, but I always thought, like, every time I see Joe Rogan on the screen, he looks big. He looks like he's wide shouldered and all that. Well, I seen a picture of like some dude standing next to Joe Rogan. I was like, what? I mean, I always see Joe Rogan in MMA, right? He always goes up with the microphone at the end. But usually, if you think about it, most of those fights are guys like Conor McGregor, who's actually not very tall, like a lot of lightweights, featherweights, all that stuff. So maybe that's why it never hit me. But when I seen that one picture of Joe Rogan, I was like, yo, how tall is Joe Rogan? And I don't care about height. Like that doesn't make any. But I'm saying I know what you're talking about with Putin. The reason that the size thing comes up is because of Napoleon Bonaparte, right? So like Napoleon was another short guy. They call it the Napoleon syndrome, right? Where someone who's short, but they're very strong and very powerful. That's where the word Napoleon complex comes from. But Putin would be a guy like that, where like incredibly powerful, but like if you ever seen him, you would be like, that's Putin, you know? It's not like, some leaders you would expect to be like larger than life, but Putin probably in the last 20 years, I don't think there's been a stronger leader. You could say Xi Jinping in China, but he's only been around since what, like 2010 or something like that. But Putin's been around since like 2000s. I mean, they had that one little switch with Dmitry Medvedev, and that was about it. Someone said, I'm going to Rome next month. Rome is cool. We've actually made a couple videos about Italy. I don't know what you're going to do in Italy, but I mean, there's probably a good 10 places in Italy to explore. Obviously, the Venice area is kind of tucked away. Like, I mean, Venice is about the edge of it. If you're going to go anywhere beyond Venice, you might as well go to Croatia or Slovenia. But if you're going to go like to Milano, like I would say Milan is a whole trip all in of itself. That's our most recent things to do video. And that's why I included like Lake Garda, Lake Como, Turin, Torino. Then you can go to Venice. You could also do a day trip up to maybe even Tyrol, which is in the Alps. You could go down probably to Cinque Terre. And with the way Italy's set up, they've got those high-speed trains. You could go from Milan to Florence in like 2.5 hours on a high-speed train. It only takes like 2 hours to go from Florence to Rome. Those high-speed trains are very efficient. I mean, you just get on the Train Italia, get a first-class ticket. I think a first-class ticket, at least when I was doing it, seemed like it was like 50 to 60 bucks. It was worth its weight in gold because, you're in there, you got high Wi-Fi, you got the seat, you're not crowded, you're not crammed. I mean, it might be worth it for some of you guys. I mean, if you're going to do a day trip like that, wake up at like 7 in the morning, go from Milan to Florence, do a walking tour around Florence, and then come back. You get to see like, I don't know, some of those like places in Florence. Florence isn't, I don't know how long you need in Florence really, maybe like 24 hours max. I mean, you could do it in 5 days and you could do like Tuscany and everything. But I'm saying like, I would say if you're going to do Northern Italy, just base camp out of Milan, watch our video that we just did, and then just check out like around like Lake Como, Lake Garda. You could do 7 days. You could even do like 1 day in Venice. Like you don't need to stay the night in Venice. You just take the train from Milan or take the bus from Milan or take a rental car from Milan to Venice. It takes like an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours max. Park at the bridge there on the other side of the bridge, or just get dropped off on the other side of the bridge. Pay that pass for like $15. Walk around Venice. Venice is very small. You can even watch the video we did of Venice. We just did things to do in Venice, but you don't need to stay the night in Venice and pay $500 to $600 a night just to stay the night there. Like the hotels aren't even in that good a shape anyway. But, you just do a day trip from Milan back to Venice, wake up the next day, go up to Lake Como, come back. Next day, you go down to Cinque Terre. Okay. So, I mean, Cinque Terre is a little bit further away from Milan than anything. But, I mean, Northern Italy, that's a trip all in itself. I've done Northern, Middle, and not too much Southern. The furthest south I went was Tropea. But I would say like it's hard. The trains stop at like Tropea, at least when I was there. So I was trying to get down to Sicily, but Southern Italy is a little bit more difficult than it is like Naples. By the way, Naples is probably overrated anyway. Someone said Tanzania, favorite African country. Zanzibar is a hidden gem there, or at least 15 years ago it was. Yeah, so Tanzania. They've got Zanzibar, and then they've got those wildlife tours. Like Tanzania is one of the best places for wildlife tours. I can't remember. Okay, so you've got in that area, you've got Mount Kilimanjaro, you've got the Ngorongoro crater. I'm talking Kenya, Tanzania. I mean, you could kind of go in between the two anyway there. But you got the Ngorongoro crater, which is lots of different wildlife. You've got the Serengeti out there in Kenya in that area. Tanzania, you've got Mount Kilimanjaro. And if you know anything about Mount Kilimanjaro, I think that's the headwaters for the Nile River, actually. Thank you to everyone smashing up the likes. Where's everyone tuning in from today? Someone said this live is cash money, brother. Thanks, Gabriel. um, let's see here. What do we got? What do we got? What do we got? Okay, so we're gonna keep this tour going. Thank you to everyone who's smashing up the likes. We're gonna talk about another area. So we're gonna move on from Europe. So the only one I would say on that list that you may want to check out on the other side of the Black Sea would probably be like Bulgaria has like the Bulgarian Riviera, but they also have Romania. Romania is really cool. I would say you probably skip Moldova, but if you go south into Turkey, there's a beautiful area. I mean, this place is incredibly beautiful. It's called the Turkish Riviera. The Turkish Riviera, I mean, it's probably a hidden gem to Western tourists, in particular, like Americans. But the Turkish Riviera is one of my favorite places I've ever laid eyes on, if you get what I'm saying. And you would probably start in like Antalya and then just work your way all the way from Antalya up to like Izmir. Okay. And everything in between there. And you could even do some like island hopping out to places like Rhodes, which is Greece. So you'd technically be crossing the border into the EU. It's because Turkey's not part of the Schengen, I don't think, yet. I don't know if it'll ever be part of the Schengen visa, actually, but Antalya is crazy cool. You've got Aludeniz, which is really nice. You've got Kos. I stayed in all those places. I stayed in Antalya. I stayed in Kos. And they have like these rivers. And on the rivers, they have these tables like right over the river. And you sit down and you eat Turkish food. And it's like Turkish style, but you're like on a beautiful river. I mean, they could do this anywhere. They could do this in Vermont. They could do this in New Hampshire. They could do it in Colorado. They could do it in Arizona along any stream or any river, but they don't. This is something that's unique to Turkey, how they take these streams and they take these rivers and they do like dining on the river. Like we're not just talking about like some restaurant on the river. We're talking about like a whole like river wonderland with bridges and stuff, like one seat, one table here, and then you go across the river over there, over the river and through the woods to the table. You know, you end up over at another table and it's got like, you know, Turkish carpets, Turkish, you know, they got hookah stuff, but I mean, it's cool except for when it starts raining. One of the times we were there, it just started raining. But man, Turkish Riviera is crazy good, crazy good. You know, everyone talks about the French Riviera. That's famous. French Riviera is nice. The Italian Riviera is okay. That's the area around like Cinque Terre up. But yeah. All right. So now what we're going to do is we're going to head out in the Atlantic a bit. There's these islands off Africa. I think they belong to Portugal. Okay. Sao Tome. Okay. You guys heard of that one? I mean, they've got a bunch of islands down there. You know, they've got obviously they've got the Azores, they've got the Canary Islands, then they've got like Cape Verde and everything. But Sao Tome, man, if you guys look at some of these videos, I mean, these are like the Hawaii of the Atlantic, okay? But most of them are owned by like Portugal and Spain. But I would say Sao Tome is kind of interesting because it's off the Western Sahara, okay? So it's just off Morocco, basically. I mean, it's crazy out there, all the stuff they got going on. Can you guys hear me? Let me know if you guys can hear me. Smash up the likes. Let me know in the comments if you guys can hear me. Nashville in the house. What's up, JB? And yep. All right. So you guys can hear me? I think so, because for some reason my internet is a little bit lagging on the map. Why is that? Why is the map playing games with me? I don't know. All right. Well, either way, we'll keep this thing moving. Anyway, so now we're going to head over into the Americas. We'll start in the Caribbean. So in the Caribbean, there's a couple islands out there. One of the travel consultation calls that I did, one-on-one coaching phone call, we were talking about some of the islands over there that she was going to go to. And, it was great to share that information with her because I recently went to so many islands in the Caribbean. It's not easy getting around the Caribbean. You would think, oh, just island hop, it's like, it's not easy island hopping around the Caribbean because they're different countries. They don't have like connecting flights, even though like, Antigua is so close to St. Martin, there's not really a direct flight. You have to go, or St. Kitts is so close to Antigua, you can almost see it from the coastline, but it's like, in order to get there, you got to go through like Barbados and then you got to go up. So it's just crazy like that in the Caribbean. But some of the places out there, they say the most beautiful island chain. I'm just going to say what's out there in like the billionaire club, St. Vincent and the Grenadines. People who just go to like the big island of St. Vincent, they don't really like it. But the Grenadines, if you look on a map at the Grenadines, there's a lot of crazy, cool, beautiful islands out there, but they call that like the billionaire's playground. I'm just saying that. Okay. Now, if you don't mind not having too many beaches, I like St. Kitts and Nevis, but they're not known for beaches, by the way. So most people, they go to the Caribbean and they want beaches, but it doesn't really have that. Now, I would say out there, one of my favorite islands that I like to go to is St. Bart's. I'm not going to say that that's a hidden gem, but man, that island is good. Good. It's a bit expensive, though. Bit expensive. Not going to deny that. But if you went out there to like St. Martin, everyone goes to St. Martin, but just go to Anguilla. Anguilla is crazy cool. Right when you get off the ferry, you're going to have to cross immigration there because it's a different country. St. Martin is split up between the Dutch and the French, but if you go to the north to Anguilla, that's a British, okay, and then you go to St. Bart's, that's a French. It's like 4 different countries in that little area, you know what I'm saying? Like they're all part of the EU except the British are not. Don't ever say the British are part of the EU, apparently, because they'll probably want to punch you. It's like, don't ever tell Irish people that Ireland is part of the British Isles, even though geographically speaking, like if you type in British Isles into Google, guess what it's going to say? Uh-oh. Can you guys, okay, so for some reason my internet's not working, but can you guys hear me? For real. Someone said, "What's up, Jeff? Started with you since the crypto journey. Hope you're still in the game." Oh, of course, dude. Of course I'm still in the game for crypto. I don't know why my internet's not working outside of the live stream. That is just so unique. It's like the live stream's just sucking up all the bandwidth, so I can't even get anything off the internet here. That's all good. But anyway, yeah, I'm definitely still in crypto. But yeah, that area right there, Anguilla, not densely populated, not over touristic, beautiful beaches, lots to do. I don't recommend that you get a hotel there unless you want to pay the top dollars because the infrastructure is not so good because it got wiped out by a hurricane. But I like that one. I would take Dominican Republic over Puerto Rico any day of the week anyway. If we're talking about DR, that's probably the cheapest one other than Cuba. Cuba's cheap, but I can't really go there. So, and then you have Jamaica. Jamaica's another cool place that you may want to check out, but that's not hidden gem. Now, let's go over into Central America. So in Central America, the hidden gem over there is Belize, although a lot of people still go to Belize. Cool thing about Belize, it used to be called British Honduras. Now, British Honduras makes it interesting because in Latin America, everyone speaks what? Spanish, Espanol. Well, in Belize, the official language is English. So I crossed the border from Chetumal, which is nearby Bacalar and, the Quintana Roo and the Riviera Maya, the Yucatan kind of area. And I did a land border crossing by a boat. So it was by sea. We went from Chetumal, which is Spanish-speaking Mexico, into Ambergris Key, also known as San Pedro, from the Madonna song, that song, San Pedro, the beautiful island that she loves so much. That's in Belize. That's San Pedro. That's Ambergris Key. And that's where we arrived from Chetumal. And then so from there, I stayed like 1 or 2 days, rented a golf cart, stayed at the Wyndham there. And then you guys have seen the video on the channel probably about Belize. But yeah, I love it there because they don't have cars on those islands in Belize. I just love cruising around golf carts. It's just such a laid back golfing lifestyle, man. And then I went over down towards Key Cocker and then towards Belize City. Skip Belize City. I'm not saying go to Belize City. If you're really feeling ambitious, it's a little bit difficult to get around there, but Guatemala in particular, the place in Guatemala that's just crazy good from my experience. Again, this is a little bit more of an adventurous place. Lake Atitlan. They have like these villages around Lake Atitlan in Guatemala. It's all Mayan. Oh man, it is good down there in Lake Atitlan. Actually, they have another city over there called Antigua. Antigua, Guatemala was the capital of Central America, or whatever used to be called like Colombia or something like that. I think it's called like Colombia Mayor Colombia. And so Antigua, Guatemala, one of the oldest cities in Central America. I think it was founded in like the 15 or 1600s, but that was really an interesting place. That's in Guatemala. So you could do Guatemala City, not much to see in Guatemala City. You go over towards Antigua, and then you go into Lake Atitlan. We got videos on the channel of all of those places, Antigua and Lake Atitlan. I would highly recommend watching those if you plan to go to Guatemala. But watch our Lake Atitlan video. You'll see how cool that place is. It's surrounded by 4 volcanoes. Like in Guatemala, they got like active volcanoes, like they're puffing smoke up into the air. But Lake Atitlan, crazy cool. And they're like Mayan villages. Like, yeah, I can't even remember. Panajachal is the main town that we stayed at. Don't get mad if I can't pronounce it right. I have a terrible time pronouncing places. It's like Panajachal. That's the name of the place where you start. But then you go to like places like, I don't know, St. Pedro, all these different places. It's not Lake Atitlan. Just remember that. That's what you need to know. Okay. Anyway, thank you to everyone who's smashing up the likes. Thank you for letting me know it's streaming okay, Franco and Striker Days. Yeah, so where do you guys want to travel to? But I'll keep this tour going. Let me know where you guys are planning on traveling. I can see if I can shoot you over some advice as we keep going. But now in that area, so you got Belize, you got Guatemala, and then you got El Salvador. El Salvador, in my opinion, is still a hidden gem. It's becoming famous because of Bitcoin. It's like it went from like the most dangerous country in Central America to like one of the safest in Latin America. And I went to San Salvador. I also went to the coastline. They've got like this surfer's paradise, as they call it, and they've got like volcanoes down there. But I would go back to El Salvador. El Salvador is pretty cool. That's a cool place. It left a positive impact on me. A small country. Now the thing is, you would think you could just easily go from El Salvador to Guatemala to Belize because it's like right there, just south of Mexico. And no, you can't. Like if you wanted to go to like Belize City or like Belize, you land in Belize City, you can't go. I couldn't find a flight directly from San Salvador to Belize City. I would think, okay, I'll just go to Mexico City and then shoot back down. Nope, you got to go all the way up to Miami and then back down. Don't make that make sense. Even though you could look on a map and it'd be faster. Now, you look on a map and you're like, I'll just drive over there. Well, it's going to take you like 14 hours to get from Lake Atitlan to like the border with, I don't know, Belize. So in that time frame, you could easily just fly from San Salvador to Miami down to Belize, probably in a 7 to 8 hour with the layover. You know what I'm saying? So even though it looks like it's close on the map, something about Guatemala just makes it like bigger than it looks. I don't know. Could be just because it's like right there on the coast. So yeah, Guatemala, El Salvador, and Belize. A lot of people are saying that Nicaragua is like the next Costa Rica, but every time I go down to Costa Rica, Costa Ricans are always hating on Nicaragua because they're like, oh, it's not safe. It's not safe. But I think they're a little bit scared that Nicaragua is like the next gold mine down there. That whole Central America is beautiful. But Honduras is probably the most dangerous one as of right now. But Nicaragua is definitely up and coming. If they can get their politics right, that's up and coming. And then, of course, you have Panama. Now, Panama is just crazy good. Like Panama City's good. And then you've got like San Blas, which is these beautiful Caribbean islands. And then you've got Bocos del Toro, which is kind of like out of this world cool. And then you got the Pacific Ocean side, which is also cool. I mean, that whole area of Central America, if you've never been down there, it's just great. Now, you can't drive certain parts of southern Panama that connect with Colombia. So you'd be looking on a map, you'd be like, oh, great, I'll just go down to Colombia, or I'll just go down to Ecuador. Guess what? The reason there's not the Pan-American Highway is because the durian is so thickly wooded, and it's like there's one place that mankind cannot conquer is the durian. It's just like patch of forest that like is right there at southern Panama and Colombia. You guys know about the durian? I think they call it the Durian Passage or the Durian Straits. Crazy, man. Crazy place down there. But check out the durian right now. That's why they can't connect the road from South America up to North America, because you want to drive from Alaska down to Patagonia and Chile, right? That's like then an epic drive. That's like taking the train from, I don't know, from London down into Paris, all the way through Europe, all the way down to like what, Singapore, right? Like that's the route that they talk about, from London to Singapore on train. Well, the route that Americans always wanted to do was from Alaska down to Patagonia, Chile. Well, you can't because of the durian. You guys knew about that. Anyway, there's ways around it. I think they got like a ferry boat, but it's crazy how thick that forest is. Like humanity cannot conquer that forest. Okay, so I'm just not even going to recommend Colombia just because I think it's a bit dangerous. It's a beautiful country. Like, I mean, I went around Colombia. I went to like Pablo Escobar. Like, actually, technically, you're not supposed to talk about anything Pablo Escobar down there in Colombia. Even with the locals, they bring it up all the time. But then they always say, don't talk about Pablo Escobar. Like the tour guide that I was with, he'd be like, we don't talk about Pablo Escobar. And then he'd start talking about, there's Pablo Escobar's old zoo. There's Pablo Escobar's old house. Here's another one of Pablo Escobar's houses. Here's another one of Pablo. But I don't know. It's just like a weird situation down there. I get it why they don't want to talk about Pablo, because they don't want to give him like, anyway, Colombia, incredibly beautiful. I mean, dang, that place is beautiful. Like out in the countryside. I mean, I was out there by Guatape. That was just beautiful. But I'm going to suggest Ecuador. Now, Ecuador might not be for everyone. Okay. I'm going to put that right now because some of you might not appreciate Ecuador like I appreciated Ecuador. The reason I appreciated Ecuador is, number one, when I arrived in Quito, it's one of the highest like capital cities in the world. The highest one is right next door in La Paz, Bolivia. Anyway, yeah, it's just crazy good out there in La Paz. And oh, wait, what's going on here? What is going on here? What is this? Anyway, so yeah, Ecuador, really cool, but might not be for everyone. And then if you go down to Peru, Peru's probably famous now. There's an area of South America that's really good, but it's famous, but not a lot of people go there, Patagonia. So check out that whole area around Latin America. But the one down in South America that's really kind of undiscovered, people got mad at me on the last stream. They were like, don't talk about that one because they want to keep it like if you get down there, just realize like it's kind of like a club, okay? Paraguay, okay? I'm just going to say it. It's like an expats, like kind of like, it's like the Thailand of South America, in the sense that it's like a lot of expats go there. They got a lot of steakhouses, a lot of pubs and restaurants, but it's like, it's kind of by like invite only. So like people get a little bit mad if you talk about Paraguay but it's got like a lot of like expat benefits in Paraguay. Do you guys know about that? Someone commented, they're like, hey man, don't talk about Paraguay, man. We want to keep that secret. Well, I'm just putting it out there anyway. So hope you guys enjoyed this one. Thanks for watching. Thanks for smashing up the likes, and we'll do it again soon. See you guys. If you guys want to book a one-on-one travel consultation call, you can click the link in the description or at the top. We'll see you on the next one.